Sir, Muti sir. Sir, Muti sir.
Ma'am, சொல்லுங்க ma'am.
Sir, recording start பண்ணிக்கலாம் sir.
Okay.
Okay sir. Good evening to one and all gathered online. It's a pleasure and privilege to record on this forum that we, Nandha Arts and Science College, Erode, Tamil Nadu, India, organized a humpty number of webinars related to various topics. In continuation with that, we put our hands together with Professional Institute of Business, Bangladesh, for conducting today's international webinar entitled Planning for Educational Institutions, Reopening and Recovery After COVID-19. We all know that COVID-19 turned the world upside down. Somehow, we have crossed the peak of the pandemic without knowing what's right and what's wrong. We hope that this webinar will give a glimmer of hope among the teaching as well as all category of employee and all admin people in terms of reopening related to preventive and post-opening related important issues by our eminent chief guest. Success relies on one who is an eminent, energetic, enthusiastic supporter in all the endeavors. We have such an eminent person that's none other than our beloved principal in charge, Dr. P. Ramya. I welcome her to welcome the gathering. Please, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening all. Is my voice audible?
Yeah, audible. Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure to welcome you all for the international webinar in collaboration with the Professional Institute of Business from Bangladesh. I'm pleased to welcome the resource persons of today's webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. M.A. Khalid from Bangladesh and Dr. Shushmita Rai from Guwahati, Assam, and also Dr. Anjana ma'am from Department of Psychology from Tripura University, and Acharya Batra Rai from Kolkata, from India. So it's like what to say, it's like the topic is need of the day. COVID-19 has, as Kavita ma'am said, COVID-19 has put the world upside down. So the topic of today's webinar, planning for education institutions, reopening and recovery after COVID-19, is a need of the day. The institutions are not aware of what to do and what to do and what not to do. So I hope this webinar will open the eyes of the need of the day, and I'm sure the participants will be enlightened with more of knowledge of how to behave after COVID-19, after the pandemic situation is overcoming the worst situation. So it's my pleasure on behalf of the management to welcome all the resource persons of today's day, and I'm happy to thank the Department of Computer Applications, the head of the department, Ms. Shantalakshmi ma'am, and her team for organizing n number of webinars, even during the right from the pandemic period and even after the opening of the institution. So it's my pleasure to appreciate the efforts taken by the department, and I congratulate them for taking such an wonderful effort, and I would like to thank them on behalf of the management for organizing such a wonderful program. And I would also like to welcome all the participants from various colleges to the webinar and the faculty members from Nandha Arts and Science College. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's time to limelight the highlights of our chief guest. I call upon Mrs. F. Savita, Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Applications, to welcome and introduce other resource persons. Please, ma'am.
It is indeed a beautiful evening, all soaked in the delightful frame of mind. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Mohammad Khalid, who has been serving more than 38 years in industrial belts, multinational and national companies, service industries, government autonomous bodies, as well as non-government organizations. Dr. Khalid served as an principal for BSc Computer Science and BBA in ASIS Institute of Business and Informatics under National University of Bangladesh. Currently, he has been associated as faculty for MBA and EMBA program with a reputed university in Bangladesh. He is an advisor and management consultant of a large multinational companies in Dubai, UAE. Apart from this, he has been practicing as consult physiologist and counselor since 2000. He has attended lot of seminars, conference and workshop, as well as invited speakers, as well as to act as chairperson and judge in scientific section in Southeast Asia. He has traveled many countries for different occasions. He has published articles and conducted research programs. There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. Now it's time to invite our today's Camino to take over this section. Please, sir.
Yes, very, very good evening. I first congratulate and welcome Honorable Principal Dr. P. Ramya, and as well as Assistant Professor Mrs. S.N. Santa Lakshmi, Department of Computer Application, as well as I will also encourage and inspire who has given me inspire behind the scene, and also frontliner, Mr. S. Kartik, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Applications, Nandha Arts and Science College, and other committee members, and my resourceful team members. Very good evening again to all. And the honors participants for your active participations. We'll try to input as possible for the reopening and pre and post opening of these educational institutions. So I would just convey my message to Achira. Please start from my PPT.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
So, can you see the screen now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is
So-
very small. Can you a bit bigger? Very small.
Yeah, it's okay now?
It's okay. I think it's okay. Just a moment.
Hello?
Yeah, it's okay.
Hello?
The first page. Oh, okay. Just a moment. Keep it here. Keep it now as
Okay.
it is. Achira,
Okay,
just
sir.
you follow me. I will explain one by one. Don't be hurry.
Okay,
Today's
sir.
topic is especially focused on planning for educational institution, reopening and recovery after COVID-19. I am Dr. Khalid from Bangladesh. Next slide, please. Yeah, there is a critical dimension school opening. Okay, critical dimension in school reopening and recovery. There is a lot of dimension the school education system has to follow. So number one, we can see in the picture, the entrance gate, there must be some security personnel or the person responsible for this to, to disinfect the hand sanitizer first on the entrance gate. Second slide, please. Yeah, critical dimension, another focus, engaging communities in the reopening plans. I think some schools, college, university may open, still not reopen properly or 100% as before the pandemic. So engaging for the mass, mass communication, engaging communities in the reopening plans. Number two, targeting resources to where they are most needed, getting children back to school, making school environment safe, recovery, learning, loss, and building back better. Because we have lost a lot of chapters, lot of topics. So we have to make a plan how to recover. Next slide, please. Okay. Crisis recovery strategy in place. Crisis recovery, because that we are now passing a very crisis period. So how to recover? We have to set out a strategy. It depends on school to school, college to college, may vary depending on the circumstances of the national or environmental factor. All countries have crisis recovery strategy in place. The following may be the useful reminder. Plan for recovery of schools, I mean education institution. Three key elements as part of the preparation. Three key elements. What are those elements? Number one, finance, financial support, infrastructures, and human resources. This is very important for reopening and recovery as well. Finance, infrastructure, and human resources. Finance. If just I want to explain a bit in terms of finance. Readjust national budget for education in the light of findings. Okay, readjustment national budget. School cannot manage the national budget, so they have to discuss, they have to place, they have to throw educational directorate or something like that. So readjust is necessary to recover. Make sure teachers and non-teaching personnel are paid and all schools have an operational budget adapt to the situations. You know, this is added. Expenditure will be definitely more as before, I mean before the pandemic. So budget should be adjusted, readjusted. And teachers, though teachers, I mean teaching faculties, non-teaching administrative supports, they need to get the salary as before, and all school have an operational budget adapt to these situations. Some operational additional budget. Number three, implement measures to help with the financial burden on families. Implement measures should be discussed how to. It may not. It doesn't mean that the school can provide full support to the families, but at least implement how to gradually, maybe in installment basis, maybe thrice time. It depends on the area, school, college, education institution. Help the financial burden on families. Okay, you share this money, then you share that one next. Prior to exam, you finish all this money. This is happening in Bangladesh also, in our university as well. Next slide, please. Okay, good. I think maybe I cannot see the upper side.
So,
Can you make a bit small? No, that's okay. A bit small, so I can see the heading.
So it's like this only.
Okay, I think same thing. Place, finance,
Place. Yeah.
place. Okay, infrastructure. Place means infrastructure. Discuss with health authorities and safety of school buildings. I mean, school buildings, educational buildings, and their surroundings before reopening, and to boost the confidence of parents, students, and teachers in terms of school safety is very, very important, because we need to reinforce, we need to make confidence come upon the teachers, parents, students in terms of safety. That is, they will understand we are at least we should be confirmed that it is 100% safe and secure. Okay, so we can see the picture as well. So next slide, please. Okay, crisis recovery. How to recover the crisis period? Ensure communities trust in the health and safety measures. Ensure communities trust. We have to build trust to the health and safety measures taken by schools. As you know, I am sending my child to the school. I am well aware that the school has taken all the safety measures. School, I mean education institution, college, whatever it be, to guarantee the well-being of returning students, and they will feel. We cannot give guarantee in writing, but we can make them confidence that your children will be well-being returning to from school to home. Ensure the risk of contagion is minimized. All these things are minimized. Renovate, improve, or install as necessary hygiene facilities like washrooms, toilets, bathrooms. Guarantee that hand washing stations will be available and provide running water as well. For example, soap and disposable hand towels. This is very, very prerequisite requirement of educational institutions. Next slide, please. Crisis recovery strategy in place. Human, now we're talking third one, human resources. Just as we plan for teachers mobilization, prioritizing regions. Mobilization and prioritizing regions. Train teachers to monitor children and identify those experiencing particular difficulties when they are back to school. Begin structured education activities as soon as it is safe to do so in order to mitigate the psychosocial impact of the crisis on children, youth, and young adults. So I think school or education, they should have, or they definitely have some school counselor or counselor, I mean not school counselor, counseling psychologist or counselor, definitely they might have, or they have to recruit, select someone, because it's a continuous process till we can overcome this crisis period. Psychosocial impact, socializations necessary, confidence to the children, young adults, adolescents, whatever the things. Okay, go ahead. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, no, before. I think you left one. Okay,
No,
next.
sir.
Next, please. Okay, keep it here. Crisis recovery semester in place. Communicate, consult, and coordinate. Communicate, consult, and coordinate. What? Communicate widely and transparently with all education stakeholders, as parents may be reluctant to send their children to school after the crisis or during the crisis period. Applied to local authorities, communities, leaders, and parents to desirable or disseminate accurate information on the reopening of the school. Oh, sometimes mispropaganda. So we have to communicate reality of the school. that we have taken all the measures, possible measures, to make your children, make your son, make your daughter safe and secure, and they will be going back safety and security. It will be a continuous process. Next slide, please. Okay, keep it. Recovery strategy in place. Okay, same thing. Review and assess the learning needs of structure. We have to review and assess the learning needs of students. Need analysis. We have to analyze the learning. Need analysis and review and assess. We have to continuously consider adapting a flexible learning approach. Adjust the school and exam calendar to take into account the teaching time. School and exam calendar to take into account the teaching time. I think this depends on the local authorities will direct, or they will say depend on the college, you can adjust. So this is interrelated matter. Consider shortening the academic years. I'm not imposing, just suggesting. Consider shortening the academic year and follow an accelerated syllabus for focus on core subjects. So I think from the every college there is a central body, education, maybe ministry, directorate, local authority. So the school authority or college authority should sit with them and make viable for the situation for the students. Start planning for accelerated learning style. Example, condensed curriculum focusing on core subjects, developing policies and programs, making funding available for them, and and guaranteeing that human and technical resources are available. Prepare special after school study classes, either mandatory or for selected groups. Next, next slide, please.
Yes, sir. Next slide.
Ochira? Hello.
Yes, sir. Next slide
Next
only.
slide. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is okay. Keep it here.
Mm.
Ensure safety and healthy of students and teachers. Wearing masks by students and teachers, hand washing with soap and water, clean toilets and classroom benches and desks, sanitize daily, social distance in classroom with attendance in shifts and or alternative days of classes. Okay, next please. Next slide, please.
Yes,
Achira.
sir. I have given next slide. Hello.
Okay, okay. Preparing it. Okay. Yeah, keep it. Is it okay? Prepare a
Okay.
2-year recovery plan for learning loss. Prepare a 2-year recovery plan for learning loss. A brief syllabus for the next 2 years, focusing on key reduced time on exam and more time on teach and reduce vacation time. I think this is depends on the local authority, education board, and other. But here is mentioning that reduce vacation time and remedial classes on Saturdays, digital learning on or the national committee or something like that, COVID or something, they have to discuss and next slide, please.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, what happened?
Yes, sir. It is visible. I have given next slide. Hello. 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 Hello.
Sir,
Hello.
ma'am, Achra ma'am,
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I think sir got disconnected.
ma'am, is Dr. Yeah, is
Yeah,
ma'am.
I think so.
Ma'am, could you please call him?
Yeah, yeah. Wait a second.
Okay, okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Achira, Achira, next slide, please.
Yes, sir. Just a second, sir.
Who lost this connect?
Sir, it is visible.
Yeah, but not.
Hello, sir.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. Okay.
Now it's okay.
This was my slide. Or
Yes,
check.
sir.
Yes, sir.
No, no.
Okay.
Check the before one. Before.
Okay.
Just. Oh, this is done. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Just. Hello. Am I?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me all? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Reopening and recovery plan. It is continuing. So awareness campaign. Please mute other than me. Mute all other than me. Reopening and recovery plan. Awareness campaign and communication with the teachers and parents are critical for successful reopening. Awareness campaign should be continued to communicate with the teachers, parents, students everywhere for successful reopening. Accommodation for students, teacher, and staff in a risk in an at-risk group. Schools that reopen will need to take into consideration that some teachers and staff will fall into at-risk category because of their age or other Health risk. These individuals should have additional accommodation, including teaching classes remotely, utilizing a large classroom where the social distancing can be maintained, or given an option not to return until the risks are reduced. Prepare classroom by wiping down surface. Okay, next please. Recovery and reopening and recovery plan. Utilize student distancing spacing strategy to decrease contact with the students who may be infected but not exhibiting symptoms until school returns to normal operations. Inspect all buses as functioning as may have been parked for an extended period. Inspected all school cafeterias and buildings. Survey supply vendors to determine when the supply chain and delivery system will be partially or fully operational. Provide vendors with supply needs. Expand school cleaning routines by maintaining staff. Disinfected all work. Just a moment. Disinfect all work areas, counters, restrooms, doorknob, and stair railing several times daily. Use other staff to assist clean all hallways, common areas, and the outside of the lockers daily to a level of sanitations. Next slide, please. Recovery and reopening and recovery plan. Consider students' temperature screening for students before they enter the school and or upon entry onto buses. Students may alternate school days or attend half days, allow for cleaning time in classroom. Separate student desks as much as possible. If possible, rearrange classroom to allow for 3 feet holding AM and PM sessions, sitting every other desk, or 6 feet distancing between desks to full day class sessions. Prohibit congregations in hallways and lunchroom. If possible, serve lunches in classroom to avoid gathering of the students in the cafeteria. Stagger class changes to avoid large group of students in the hallway. Ensure emergency communication contact numbers available to reach parents or guards. School offices staff is encouraged to continually wipe down counters, faxes, copiers, telephones, keyboards, and use sanitized pen in the main office. Next slide, please. I see. So, as a nutshell, I think we the school authority, we the school teachers, college teachers, university, we are well aware about all these sanitizations, even though we have to create awareness session among the teachers, parents, and make confidence to every students they are coming in the school safely and they will be returned back with safety and security, and also need to be discussed with the local authority, director of educations, or depending on the areas authority of the school or college or universities, continuous liaison to maintain a safe, secure environment to run continuously, and recovery plan to make up classes, make up syllabus, to minimize timing, to minimize vacations, whatever is feasible for the school or the national authorities. Okay, thank you very, very much for giving me such a big platform. I try my level best to make you at least a minimum. I don't know how far I could able to make you understand, but I think better also. So just I discussed and make you aware. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, especially Honorable Principal, Kartik, and the Madam HOD, Computer Applications, and the honored participants, and my resource team also. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. So I hand over the Kavita something, Sabita, no?
Yes, sir, Savita.
Sabita, okay, please.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Achira, close the. Okay, good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The soul should always stand azure, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience. I proudly introduce Dr. Anjana Batasri, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, Tripura University. She has been 12 years teaching and 15 years research experience. She is presently doing research on domestic violence, mental health of women, adolescents, mental health, and prevention of drug addictions and suicides. She has more than 75 research articles on different aspects of mental health. Various research scholars have been guided under her guidance. She is member of different national and international associations in various capacities. She received many awards like Indrani Banerjee Memorial Award, Sri Saptal Malhotra Memorial Award for her academic and research performance. Ma'am, now the forum is yours. Please, ma'am.
Good evening. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
most welcome, Anjana.
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
Yeah, please.
Good evening to one and all present in this international webinar. At the outset, I just express my sincere thanks to the organizer, Nandha Arts and Science College, Tamil Nadu, and Professional Institute of Business, Bangladesh, for giving me this opportunity to share my views in this platform. I think this is a very pertinent topic which the organizer has selected for this international webinar. The planning for educational institutions reopening and recovery after COVID-19. And I believe that, that COVID-19 is not over, rather we are still in the pandemic situation. So just give me a second to start my presentation. I don't know, somebody, Gautami is presenting something. Okay, fine. Is it visible, my PPT?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. The area which I would like to talk about, the reopening of educational institutions, different issues and challenges. My earlier speaker, Khalid sir, has nicely articulated about different strategies. Particularly, sir has given more emphasis on the infrastructure and other strategies which we should follow in the educational institutions, starting from sanitizing the areas to using masks and maintaining social distances and all. In my presentation, I will try to highlight some other areas, some other issues and challenges which we may face while we think or while we plan of reopening the educational institution, or we may actually and definitely how we are going to we are going to take care of those challenges and issues when we are thinking of reopening the educational institution. Why actually we are talking about much about this, reopening or new normal, so-called quote unquote new normal, because we know this coronavirus or COVID-19 disease is a new phase of pandemic. Why new phase of pandemic? Because this type of disease we were not at all, we don't have at all any knowledge before the year 2020 December, which basically starts from China, and from that particular part of the world, it has been spreaded all over the world. And because of its seriousness, because of its pandemic severity, the World Health Organization has also declared this pandemic as a public health emergency of international concern. So we know that this is a, this is a vital pandemic, and we should actually take care of when we are planning for reopening our schools. In some of the states of our country, that is in India, many educational institutions have been already been opened, and some are in the phase of opening. So basically, when there was sudden lockdown and there was restricted mobility, there was immense increase in the mental health problems among all of us. Being a student of psychology, I would like to highlight those areas. It is very important to understand that mental health, status of all of us, starting from students to teachers to other caregivers who are engaged into the educational institution. The spread of this coronavirus has caused the whole world to shut down and forcing people to stay inside home. And as a result, what happened? The people, irrespective of their age, their gender, socioeconomic status, they face many psychological problems. They face many psychological issues. It is true that, however we try, we cannot return the world as it was there. However we try, at this point of time, we will not be able to, think about our educational institution, which was there last year, before the month of March in our country. So, but at the same time, the question comes that we cannot sit just silently and think that okay, fine, somebody else is take this responsibility to look after all these issues. We have to take responsibility to find out how we are going to help our students, how we are going to help ourselves. That means the teachers and other staff members of each and every educational institution. And for that, we need to understand two very important areas while we are planning for reopening or we are in the phase of opening the educational institution. The first one is mental health issues due to stress and pandemic situation for all of us, starting from students to teachers to other members of the educational institution. And what are the psychosocial coping strategies which we can use to reduce individual stress levels? Many studies, I think all those who are engaged in research in this forum, they knew it very well that for the last 14 months, there were tremendous research in the field in this particular pandemic situation from different, different subjects, researcher on different subjects like psychology, sociology, economics, biology, biological science. They have done different researches on their specific areas. And from the various researchers in psychology and behavioral science, it has been found that this particular pandemic situation has caused many mental health issues. Now, without uttering much, typical psychological term, let me explain very simply that what are the mental health issues which we all have faced, or what are the mental health issues which may we encounter when we are actually going to the school or college or any other educational institution, and maybe as a student, maybe as a teacher, maybe as a researcher, or maybe as a simply staff member. So I just mentioned it as an ABCD of mental health issues to make this more, easy to understand for the audience. What is A? This A for adjustment problem. I think all of us will believe this, that we have faced a tremendous adjustment problem throughout this period of time, of this pandemic. Adjustment with, with work and life balancing, adjustment with this lockdown, with this, confinement at home, adjustment with even the children have this adjustment problems with their parents. Many of our students in our university, being a counselor of the university, I think many, online calls or telecounseling, doing telecounseling. Many of the students who are studying PG level, they told that, madam, actually it's very much problematic right now to stay at home the whole day, the 24 hours. The parents are telling, don't do this, don't do that, and we were not habituated at least 1 year before this type of obligation from the parents, because now we are adults, now we are more free, but suddenly because of this pandemic, we are confined at home. And all these obligations are now upon our head, and it's very much problematic for us. We are feeling like, running away from home. So this type of adjustment problem is being faced by many people, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their socioeconomic status. B stands for bipolar disorder. Like Some people may have, elevated mood, and sometimes may have elevated mood, and sometimes may have very sad mood. When a person is showing these two types of mood, that is two poles of the mood, one is sad and another is elevated, that is known as bipolar disorder, and this has been found that this type of disorder has been increased during this situation. Confusion. C stands for confusion. What is confusion? The people are very confused what to do, what not to do. Should somebody go to market or not? Should somebody send their children to school or not? If not, then how they will be collecting the class notes? So people are confused, students are confused, parents are confused, we teachers are confused that the students who actually we are now dealing with online classes, the institutions which are not open till now. So online classes, some students are not able to join online classes because of their network issues. So we also don't know how to help those students because of social maintaining all these governmental guidelines. We cannot reach out to those students and help those. So confusion situation is there. D stand for depression. Yes, it has been increased drastically. People show that depressed and mood because they were confined at home. They were not able to move. Their mobility was restricted. So depression was there. E for eating disorder. It might be, more eating, which further increase the weight gain. So many people during this pandemic situation have this type of problems, and in return they either developed weight, more weight, or sometimes due to depression and other mental issues, they often lose their weight also. F, and the next letter is F, F for frustration. This has been found tremendously among the students. They have been feeling frustrated because no college, no university, no school. They don't know, no gang, no going with the gangs like peers, no so-called physical contact with the peers, no gossiping, all these things created lots of frustration, particularly for the students. We generalize anxiety like phobia, coronaphobia. This is a new terminology which was not there in the dictionary of psychology, but this term has been added now. Coronaphobia, people have this fear, unnecessary fear of being infected. Anxiety, unnecessary anxiety, huge anxiety that some person maybe get infected, some person maybe, what will happen if some known person or close, near and dear one is being corona positive. Hypersomnia, insomnia, or hypersomnia or insomnia. What is that? It is sleeping problems, either lack of sleep, that is known as insomnia, and hypersomnia means excessive sleep. So this is also a problem. Irritations, people have been found to be irritated, to behave irritatingly with their near and dear one, maybe the children. The parents also showed often irritated behaviors toward the children because all the time, for the last 1 year, children are at home and they are with all the naughty behavior. They are much enthusiastic. Parents are now very much puzzled how to deal with them. So these type of things make people more irritated. Sometimes jealousy also, J stand for jealousy. K for kleptomania, that is some obsessional thoughts or compulsive behavior to steal something. So some people may develop this type of kleptomania also. L for loneliness. I don't need to explain this because particularly the aged people feel lots of feel loneliness and loss because they are not able to move. They were not able to see the face of their daughters, maybe their grandchildren and all. So mostly loneliness was a problem for the aged people. And for mood swing, as I had already said, that sometimes mood may be elevated, sometimes mood may be sad. So mood disorders may happen like depressive disorder, like dysthymic disorder, like manic disorder. And for negativistic thought, what is that? All the time, some people, students also say that, madam, you are telling to study, but there is no notification for exam. We don't know whether the exam will be offline or online. What will happen if it is online? Why should we study? And if it is offline, then I don't know what to do. Like, who will going to help us? So this type of negative thought. And negative thought is such a thing that if I thought negatively once, then automatically the next thought will be also negative, and the whole thought process will be, the chain of thought will be the negative one. So negative thoughts. O for obsessive compulsive disorder. The people who are confined at home, they often show this is excessive worry, and due to some excessive worries, they often often exhibit some compulsive behavior. C for post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) or some other psychiatric disorder. Somebody whose near and dear one was infected with COVID or maybe died with this coronavirus, they are in the stressful situation and often and they exhibit the symptoms of PTSD. Q for low quality of life. Although we, the whole family was confined at home, although we could have, spend the quality of time with each other, but it has been seen that, quality of life has been decreased in many people's lives. And, the domestic violence has been increased a lot. You may find many literature which shows that domestic violence has been increased during this lockdown period. As for reality orientation, disorientation, yes, some people believe that they have a false belief that, corona or this type of pandemic will not affect them. They may be, they think themselves as a human, and they believe that these type of things will not affect myself. And as a result, they deny and they don't follow the rules and, precautionary measures which they should do. So this is known as reality disorientation. The next is social media dependency. Yes, this has also been found that during this lockdown period, during this pandemic situation, people have been more dependent on the social media. People have been addicted on screens. Online addiction was increased a lot. C stands for thoughts of suicide. Some people committed suicide also due to one or other reason, due to maybe economical crisis, loss of job, or other reasons. U stands for unable to cope with the changes. So some people face it's tremendous problem to cope up with the changes, which basically is the need of the hour to change our behavior, to change the way we communicate with others, to change, gather with each other. So some people face a lot of problem in coping with those changes. B for vulnerable to substance abuse. Yes, it has been also found in many research work that substance abuse increased a lot during this whole period of pandemic. W stands for worry about present and future. Yes, this is again a problem faced by both the students and their caregivers, particularly their parents, that what will happen to them. They have lost 2 months or 3 months or maybe 4 months. So what will happen to their future? So excessive worry leads to stress level, and that stress leads to different physiological problems also. X for extenophobia. This is an irrational fear of anything strange or foreign. Though this is not basically related with medical phobia, rather it is related with some socio-political in nature. So this has also been reported that this type of problems also increase. Y stands for real long feeling of insecurity. Yes, there were people who were insecure about their jobs. People were in fact insecure about their, family members. People were insecure about their own dear and near one who were engaged in the treatment facilities like the doctors and nurse. So the family members of doctors, the family members of other medical caregivers were in tremendous feelings of insecurity, tremendous feeling of stress because of this nature of this pandemic for the last 1 year. And then lastly, the last letter of this ABCD of mental health issues, loss of G. That means many people, the students, I have been encountered with many students, they say that while counseling, they say that, ma'am, I just lost my enthusiasm to do something. I cannot plan right now. I don't know what will happen. And whenever I start studying, all the time, all these questions come my mind that, what will happen, whether we'll get job or what will happen, whether the pandemic will more or it will be less. So all these questions, all this uncertainty comes in their mind. And as a result, it affects the productivity and enthusiasm and motivation of the students. So this was the ABCD of the mental health issues which we all face, irrespective of our age or status, irrespective of whether we are students or teachers or other members of educational institutions. So many studies have shown that this 1 year or has actually cost a lot for their students, particularly for the children. And maybe that will be a long-lasting repercussion. We may see it after many years that this was the effect of on the children and the youth or young adults of this pandemic situation. And when we talk about reopening of institution, basically educational institution is the place where basically we communicate with each other and we build a human relationship between the students, between the teachers, between the colleagues, between the teachers and other staff members. So the questions again come. So we know that these are the issues, these are the challenges. But the question comes that how we are going to deal with these issues, how we are going to handle these challenges, and what we should do. Basically, if I say that time will not heal by itself until unless we want to ready to move on. So it is a time for us to move on, to think about new normal. We cannot go back to the normal life, but we can think quote unquote new normal, because after a storm pass, we know that the sun shines again. So for that sunshine, storm was there, storm will be here also, but we have to wait for the sunshine, so we need to move on for the new normal. So for that, what we need to do, we need to prepare, we need to cope up, and then this will lead to the recovery. The today's seminar webinar is on this planning and recovery, reopening and recovery. So for that planning, we need to prepare something, and for recovery, we need to have some coping strategies which will help us to recover from this pandemic situation. So let me explain very briefly one by one. At first, when I talk about this planning, like prepare, then the first thing is that we need to educate all the staff members about trauma and mental health. Actually, in my presentation, being a student of psychology, I'm just highlighting all these mental health issues because Sir has elaborated very nicely all these things. So the first is that educate all staff members about trauma and mental health issues. All the mental health issues which I have explained, all the teachers, all the students, all the staff members has to be sensitized about all these issues so that we can understand that whether we are having any warning sign, whether there is any problem within myself. So first, for preparation, we have to have sensitized ourselves about the trauma. We have to understand whether I am traumatized or not. We have to understand what are the symptoms of trauma so that I can understand whether my colleagues, whether my students are under trauma or not. So this is the first one, we need to prepare this. Second one is that we need to equip staff with the skills to foster safe and supportive learning environment. We need to train all our service providers, starting from teachers to staff members or other caregivers of schools or other educational institutions, that what are the measures they should follow to prevent themselves from this virus, as well as to boost up their mind, their health, mental health. We need to pay more attention to the mental health needs of the students and staff members. Yes, when the schools are opening, suppose in my institution in Tripura, our university, the students are now coming phase-wise to the department. So we are basically physically in contact with the students. So sometimes the question comes in the mind where if some students are not putting masks, then suddenly, oh, this student is not putting mask, and immediately we say that oh, please put your mask on, please maintain the social distance, please do not try to touch each other frequently or sanitize your hands frequently. So these are the things which again the health measures which again has a strong relation with the mental health aspect of ourselves. So we need to understand, we need to give more attention to the mental needs of ourselves, our students, our colleagues and other staff members. The last preparation, what we should do, that we should ensure that if there is no counseling services, if there is no psychological health providers into the educational institution, then we should know that if there is any students or if there is any of my colleagues is under trauma or under excessive stress, then whom I should refer. So proper referral services, we should develop this referral services, and whenever it is necessary, we should use this community-based mental health service providers so that we can help our students, our colleagues or other friends. Finally, as I said that the preparation part is over, then the coping, and then coping automatically will relate to the recovery part. So how we are going to cope? There are different psychosocial strategies through which we can cope with this stress, with this situation, with this immense stressful situation. The first one is psychoeducation. What is psychoeducation? Psychoeducation refers to educating people about various psychological disorders and its consequences. We should know that what are the psychological disorder and how that disorder may exhibit different physiological problems. So we should have this much knowledge, and if we have this much knowledge, it will help us to understand ourselves in a better way. So psychoeducation is needed. Acceptance. What is acceptance? It's a very important coping mechanism to deal with the stressor. What is that? Suppose if I accept that this is a stressful situation, this is a pandemic situation, and I need to follow all the measures given by the government, I need to follow all the protective measures, I need to help others to follow all the protective measures, then it will be easy for us to accept. If not, as I mentioned that in denial, there will be denial. People will say, no, this problem will not happen to me. I'm a very, strong person. I'm a very healthy person. So I don't need to wear masks or something. Or the pandemic is over now, so I don't need to follow all these guidelines. So due to the denial, due to the lack of accepting the situation, people will not follow the guidelines. And as a result, what will happen? They will be in the risk factor. On the contrary, we also will be in the risk side. So acceptance is also very important. Practicing positive thinking, yes, nothing to mention about this. We know that positive thinking is very important to start the day. If we start the day with positive thinking, if we think that yes, we can, yes, we will, then definitely there are many avenues will be opening, and there are lots of solution of every problem. So many studies also show that if we think positive every day, we can deal effectively with stress, anxiety, or other psychological issues. Limiting social media news. What is that? Basically, many people in this phase, particularly the aged people, I have seen even my father, who is 80 years old, he was also very much worried about, listening to radio and going to the newspapers or, media news. So whenever there was any news that some more infection, my father used to be more palpitation used to be more from my father's side, used to be more anxious. Used to, try to say, hey, no need to go to the university, hey, don't send your son to the school or tuition or something like that. So it is often very important to limit the social media and the news, and to trust to those news only which are trustworthy. Because nowadays, due to social media, there are many fake news also, which can make people panic. So this we need to understand that we should not be much depend on these fake news, or we should not be much depend on social media. Proper sleep hygiene, yes, we need proper sleep, we need proper food, we need proper nutrition to deal any type of diseases, whether that is COVID or any other problem. And if there is no proper sleep, then definitely there will be either insomnia or hypersomnia, as I earlier mentioned already. Physical fitness is very important, because many research has been found that regular physical exercise not only boosts our physical health, but also helps in mental health by reducing stress and depression. So regular physical exercises is very important, and we can help our students, we can help our colleagues by referring to this, that we should always engage into physical fitness activities. Spending time in hobbies. Yes, so if we are stressed, so if we are in dilemma, if we are in under excessive anxiety, then one way to cope up with this is to spend the time with the activities which we like. Maybe somebody may be liking drawing, they can engage themselves in drawing, somebody may be painting, somebody may be gardening, somebody may be, just photography or something else. So whatever we daily life, we should engage ourselves into the hobby so that we can control the negative thoughts which are coming into our mind continuously. Cognitive redefinition is another psychosocial coping mechanism. What is this? This is basically to redefine the way we perceive, we think, or we feel about any situation or event. For example, suppose the pandemic situation, if we think it is a very negative way, oh my goodness, I'm confined at home, I cannot meet with my friends, I cannot meet with my family, I cannot go to parties or hang up with my friends. So then the anxiety and these things will increase and will increase the needs. So cognitive redefinition means in such a situation, if I think in a different way, if I think that thank God I was so busy with my professional life, I was so busy with my other work, I could not give time to my children, I could not give time to my family members, I could not give time to my parents. So this is a time which I got for connecting with my family, to indulge myself, to spend some quality time, quality of there. So cognitive redefinition matlab just changing the way we think to in a positive way. Mindfulness practice, yes, this is important. We can meditate, we can do physical exercises, yoga, or spiritual practices which will keep our mind cool and help us to boost up from our inside. So mindfulness practices help us basically to understand our own capabilities, to understand our own weaknesses. So in a way, this is very positive coping mechanism, and through meditation we can get this. We can practice mindfulness. Last but not the least, good social support. Social support is very important whenever there is any pandemic situation, whether this pandemic or there are in the history, there are many pandemics also earlier in the earlier centuries. It has been found that when there are support system and there are, the people are supporting each other, then we can deal with any sort of crisis. We can deal effectively with whether that is psychological crisis or physical crisis or economical crisis. So social support is very important. Whenever we find that the students are coming to the department, we should provide them social support. Whenever we see that the colleagues are coming or if colleagues are under stress, we should provide social support so that they can overcome this crisis situation and can come to this new normal phase. Finally, following government guidelines, yes, we need to follow all the government guidelines to protect ourselves, to protect our near and dear one from this deadly disease. Professional health, lastly, that if following all these, coping mechanisms like psychoeducation, like exercise, proper diet, and this mindfulness training also his anxiety level or maybe adjustment problem or maybe other. Then with this I must conclude that the reopening or planning or everything depends on the things apart from other infrastructural facilities which Kali spoken about. We think that being an individual, being a teacher, or being a person in the society, it basically depends the way we look. Whether we look front or whether we just stand back, that depends on our attitude. So we need to change our attitude also from negative to positive. We need to take a long breath and try to relax. To recover, all patients are going to open because we'll be in physical contact with our colleagues, we'll be in physical contact with our students. There will be again more educational programs. And in that way, our anxiety to be infected by coronavirus will be there. But if we follow all these strategies, then we can control ourselves and we can maintain a proper, healthy health and mind and soul. So with this, thank you so much for being with me today and giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my knowledge and as well as to know a lot about what other speakers are talking.
Thank you, ma'am. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more precious to conduct uncertain in its success, than to take the lead in the introduction of new order of things. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Susmita Roy Sautri Deka, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, NERIM Group of Institutions, Guwahati, Assam. Has 6 years teaching experience and 5 years research experience. She had also been serving guest faculty in the Department of Psychology, Guwahati University and Cotton University, Assam. Apart from this, she has been practicing as a counselor since 5 years. She has presented 5 papers in scientific section on national and international conference. She has also attended lot of seminars, workshops, as well as many conferences. Now it's time, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Yes. First of all, good evening to one and all present here. Am I visible?
Ma'am, visible, ma'am.
Yeah. Am I audible?
It's audible, ma'am.
I would like to thank you, Dr. Muhammad Khali sir, for giving me this opportunity, and also I'd like to thank you, the principal and all the faculty members of Nandha Arts and Science College. So as Khalid sir and Anjana ma'am has already discussed the planning and reopening of schools, the issues, the challenges, and as well as the crisis, I would like to focus on the stress and its effect on mental health among adolescents during pandemic. So it is like someone is presenting. So how can I? Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible now. Ma'am, visible.
Yeah.
Screen is visible.
Yeah. So as we all know that COVID-19 pandemic has introduced great global uncertainty, and it has brought a sense of fear and anxiety around the globe. And this phenomenon, has led to short-term as well as long-term psychosocial and mental health implications for children and as well as among adolescents. So as we all know, right from the time of birth till the last breath drawn, an individual is invariably exposed to various full situations. The modern world, which is said to be a world of achievement, yes, it is also a world of stress and has been called the age of anxiety and stress. So it's a normal human reaction that happens to everyone. And it can be, stress can be, as we all know, the positive and negative. The positive stress is also called eustress, because why the optimal amount of stress is necessary to promote the health and growth, and negative stress is called the de-stress. It is due to the excess of adaptive demands placed upon us. So types of stress, it can be acute stress or chronic stress. Acute stress, this type of stress is a short-term and usually the more common form of stress. Acute stress often develops when people consider the pressures of events that have recently occurred or face upcoming challenges in the near future. So, for example, a person may feel stressed about a recent argument or an upcoming deadline. However, the stress will reduce or disappear once a person resolves that argument or meets the deadline. So, chronic stress, this type of stress, develops over a longer period of time and is more harmful. Ongoing poverty, a dysfunctional family, or an unhappy marriage are the example of this chronic stress. So Adolescence, as we all know, this period, starts at the age of 12 and continues till the age of 19 years. It is a period of revolutionary change. It is a most crucial stage in a person's life, and it is a transitional stage of physical and psychological development in a person's life. And this is the stage, where several key development experiences occur. So, what are the causes, the general causes of stress among adolescents? Why are teens stressed out? The common things that teenagers say cause them, stress it may include the homework and school, especially the exam pressures, expectation and pressure do well at the school from parents and as well as from the family members, and their social relationship with friends and, their boyfriends, girlfriends, and the issues of sex. Extracurricular commitments, life challenges such as leaving school or getting into tertiary studies or employment, then lack of time, having too much to do or feeling unprepared or overwhelmed, and lack of sleep. So what are the signs? The signs include the changes in mood that are not usual for our child, changes in behavior, a loss of interest in the activities but they previously enjoyed, a hard time falling or staying asleep, starting to sleep all the time, changes in weight or eating patterns, problems with memory, thinking, and concentration, less interest in schoolwork and drop in academic effort, changes in appearance such as lack of basic personal hygiene, an increase in risky or some reckless behaviors, and thoughts about death or suicide or talking about it. So stress among adolescents during pandemic. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has introduced every aspect of daily life and requiring sudden adaptation to ever-changing circumstances. The COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown has brought about a sense of fear and anxiety around the globe. And this phenomenon has led to short-term as well as long-term psychosocial and mental health implications for children and as well as among adolescents. So the greatest, impacts felt by the adolescents stem from school closures, being in house with the family members, not getting to see friends and peers. Adolescents have different developmental needs than adults. Teenagers are at the stage in life when they are very invested in social connections and in separating from their parents. So COVID-19 social distancing requirements have a different emotional impact on them than on adults, depending on their age and developmental stage. Some adolescents may have a hard time understanding what the pandemic really means and how it impacts their world. So, COVID-19, might not be lethal in children and adolescents as it is in adults, but it does cause a lot of psychological distress in this age group. Adolescents are experiencing acute and chronic stress because of parental anxiety, disruption of daily routines, increased family violence, and have, home confinement with little or no access to peers, teachers, or physical activity. School closure has seriously disrupted adolescent lives in India, with many young people entering the workplace as a result, possibly never return to education again.
Ma'am, excuse me.
Yes.
Ma'am, we couldn't see your slide, ma'am. Still let us in the first slide.
Oh, just a second then. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it visible now?
No. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is coming.
Okay. Yes. So what are the challenges faced by the adolescents during pandemic? Change in routines. In addition to everyday steps to prevent COVID-19, physical or social distancing is one of the best exposed to the virus and to slow its spread. However, having to physically distance from someone you love, like friends, boyfriend or girlfriend, family, or your worship community can be hard for the adolescents. Adolescents may struggle when asked to change their, social routines, from choosing to skip in-person gatherings to consistently wear masks in public settings. It is important for adults to help adolescents take personal responsibility to protect themselves and others, as well as support them in safely taking time to connect with friends and family remotely. Next is break in continuity of learning. School closures due to COVID-19 have meant the adolescents have been participating in learning from home. Online platforms and communities have become essential as families turn to digital solutions more than ever to support students' learning. Unfortunately, the immediate need for virtual learning environments brought to light inequity in resources, access, and connectivity across families and communities. So school closures have also meant to break in access to some essential, developmental service like occupational, behavioral, or speech therapy. It could also have impeded continuity in adolescents' development of athletic or hands-on vocational skills with potential impacts on their higher education and professional future. Next is break in continuity of healthcare. As the parents may have avoided seeking health care for their adolescents due to stay-at-home orders and may continue to do so because they are afraid of getting sick with COVID-19. So these include important, well child visits, immunizations, and oral health care. And additionally, school closures have impacted many adolescents' ability to receive mental health, speech therapy, and occupational health services on campus. It is important to ensure adolescents receive continuity of healthcare, including continuing mental health, occupational, and speech therapies, and receiving vaccines, including COVID-19 when it becomes available. Next is missed significant life events. Physical distancing can feel as if one is placing life on hold. The truth is that the clocks keeps ticking. Birthdays, graduations, proms, homecoming, vacation plans, births, funerals are just a sample of the many significant life events that adolescents may have missed experiencing during COVID-19. And this social distancing, stay-at-home orders and limits to gatherings have affected their ability to gather in person with friends and family to celebrate or grieve in typical ways. So loss of security and safety, job, most of the people, they have lost their job, those kind of things, affected the household income of the many adolescents' families during COVID-19. So this economic insecurity is consistently linked to adverse development, academic achievement, and health outcomes. It may affect adolescents' ability to consistently access healthy foods, safe transportation, and housing. So the mounting economic stresses can increase their risk for exposure to violence, along with stay-at-home.
Ma'am, excuse me.
Yeah.
Ma'am, please move the slide, ma'am. Just it is in the same slide. Click to add title. That slide is available.
Is it okay now?
Ma'am, slide is okay. You are not moving the slide.
Actually, I'm moving it.
It is the slide. Click to add title. The same slide, I think so.
Can you see the next slide?
No, ma'am. The same slide is available.
Ma'am, you do one thing, ma'am.
Yes.
Press F5 in your keyboard, ma'am.
I'm not getting your point. Sorry.
Press F5 in your keyboard.
F5.
F5.
Yes, ma'am. Optional key F5.
Is it visible now?
Ma'am, screen is visible, but what you are speaking, the particular screen is not available now.
Your content is not relevant to the slide, ma'am.
I think due to issues or what? Just a second.
No, ma'am.
Is it moving now? Yes. Can you see the next slide?
Ma'am, the slide is way Means to
Yes,
cope
ways
with
and
stress.
means to cope with stress, right? A guide for adolescents.
Okay, this is the slide.
Yeah. Find, it's a guide for adolescents. They should find hobbies and activities that they enjoy. They have to plan something small each day to look forward to. Interrupt negative thought patterns that cause distress. Instead, they should focus on what they can do to make this situation better. Next, they should listen to their body. They should take deep breaths, deep breath, then stretch, or take a moment to relax. They should focus on eating healthy, well-balanced meals, getting regular and avoiding, some we know that in this age, due to stress, some are using substance, or they try to drink alcohol, so they should avoid this kind of things. Then they should limit exposure to news coverage, because all the time the news are showing the COVID-19 patients, the cases, the increasing cases. So they should avoid, they should limit the exposure to news coverage, including social media. This goes double for children. They may misinterpret and become frightened about something they don't understand. Maintain regular routines, create a schedule for learning activities, relaxation and fun, and they should talk to trusted people about their concerns and feelings. They can use their phone also, or safe internet means to connect with others in a positive way. So what are the steps to help provide? Is it moving now, the slide?
No, ma'am.
No. Can you see the slide of steps to help provide and stability?
No, ma'am.
What is going on now?
No, ma'am. The same slide.
Ma'am, please, FIP, which is screen. Then you can click the arrow keys.
Is it okay now? You can see the slide of steps to help provide stability and support to adolescents.
Yeah, it's okay, ma'am.
Is it okay now?
No, ma'am. The same slide. Previous slide. Ways and means to cope with stress. The same slide is available.
But I'm moving, one by one. Why it is happening, I don't know.
Okay, ma'am. You continue. It's not a problem. You continue.
Yeah. Steps to help provide stability and support to adolescents, a guide for parents. Number one is recognize and address fear and stress. Adolescence, as we all know, is a time of big changes. Adolescents can be particularly overwhelmed when stress is related to a traumatic event, express an excessive worry or sadness, unhealthy eating or sleeping habits, or difficulty with attention and concentration. Adults can provide stability and support to help them cope, as well as facilitated access to professional help and distress emergency hotlines as needed. Teach and reinforce everyday preventive actions. There are actions we can take to protect others, prevent getting sick, and slow the spread of COVID-19. Encourage adolescents to be good role models. If they wash their hands often, stay at least 6 feet apart from others, and wear their masks in public spaces to help protect themselves and others, then younger children and even their peers are more likely to do the same. Next is help keep adolescent children healthy. Teach adolescents the importance of taking care of their health. Engage them in scheduling routine check and immunization visits. Ensure continuity in their mental health and occupational health care. Encourage them to eat healthy, drink water instead of sugar, sweetened beverages for strong teeth. Be physically active or learn something new. It can help them stay healthy and focused. Next, help adolescents stay socially connected. Encourage adolescents to reach out to friends and family via phone, video chats, social media, or even via video games. But yes, there should be a limit when to use, how to use. Schools may have tips and guidelines to help support their social and emotional needs. Parents can also help anxious adolescents channel their anxiety in more productive ways, such as, doing some craft projects, learning to, sew some fabric mask for family members. They can engage their children in cooking, other household chores. The body is not, made to live on constant, adrenaline. So coping mechanisms such as they can do the yoga, meditation, taking a walk in nature, listening to music, etc. Next, addressing news and social media. And a constant stream of news and social media can contribute to a sense of fear and helplessness for adolescents and as well as their parents. As news articles continue to discuss the COVID-19 infection rate and the need to flatten the curve, anxiety, depression, emotional distress increase, and the phenomenon referred to as the second curve. So we encourage parents to talk to adolescents about setting limits on the amount of time they span, you're reading about current events. Parents may also choose to model this behavior by taking a break from social media at certain times of the day or as well as the week. Adolescents' uncertainty and disappointment. The inability to participate in team sports, attend in-person social events, spend time with friends, friends face to face may leave teenagers feeling bored, lonely, and sad. So loss of social milestones, including graduation and prom, can, affect their feelings in adolescence and as well as their parents. So while some of these events may be postponed and rescheduled for a later date, the adolescents may still feel a sense of grief or loss. So parents should anticipate and validate these feelings in their adolescents' children. Many young people acknowledge the conflict between the perceived selfish desires and the good of the larger community. So, the allowing teens to share and, reconcile their own needs with what they know is right can help them, process their feelings. And adolescents are perceptive and aware of the stress experienced by the adults in the household and as well as in the society. Next is help adolescents develop life skills. While at home, parents can take opportunities to teach their adolescents life skills such as planning and cooking meals. Adolescents can also help with chores such as laundry and dishes and practice adulting. Experiential learning could include learning to manage a checking account and plan a weekly budget. Next is laughter is a sum of the best medicine. Never underestimate the power of a good belly laugh to relieve tension. If laughter does not come naturally to a young person or a family, challenge the teen to find something on YouTube or Instagram that they find amusing and to share it with you. Next, instill a sense of gratitude. As part of the daily routine of family dinner, ask each family member to share something they are grateful for. Gratitude highlights connection and is strongly linked to emotional well-being and life satisfaction. The act of focusing on gratitude helps the adolescents pay attention to what is positive in their life instead of becoming overwhelmed by negative thoughts. Next is find joy and wonder in each day. Share that lens with one another. Finding small ways to be joyful can help the young and old survive rough times. Toddlers to do this naturally. Adolescents may need more guidance to start the process. Take a virtual tour of a museum or natural setting and then apply the same focus to walking through one's house or virtual input from grandparents and remote loved ones can also create a personal connection to items or photos discovered on the tour. Is it not? It is not visible, right? The
Yes,
slide
ma'am.
is not moving.
It's not moving.
Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience. I don't know why it is happening.
It's okay, ma'am. You continue.
So, what are the? I'm also want to focus, on the principles of reopening schools safely during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, number one, set an ultimate goal of returning safely to in-person instruction based on public health data. As doctors and educators have said, the goal should be for all students to return safely to in-person instruction. The evidence is clear on its benefits. A recent study found significant negative impacts on student learning associated with switching from a brick or a school to a virtual school, reinforcing a variety of other research conducted over the past several years. So beyond academics, students gain a host of other educational, social, emotional, health benefits from being in school with their teachers and the peers. So according to American Academy of Pediatrics, a lack of in-person instruction and support services often result in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits, as well as child and adolescent physical or sexual abuse, substance use, depression, and suicidal thought. Next is make physical reopening decisions based on local health condition and school-specific information. Decisions on when and how to physically reopen school buildings for in-person instruction must be, data driven, taking into consideration the following factors. Number one, the incidence of COVID-19, the number of reported new cases over a period of time. In the school's surrounding area must be low enough that transmission can be controlled. The second is district must consider the size of the student body, the ability to divide students into smaller smaller parts, and the physical condition of the school building. If possible, dividing student into smaller classes could help minimize the number of people each student and teachers comes in contact with during a school day. Smaller student bodies as well as larger physical school buildings make it easier to reconfigure the classes so that the students remain at least 6 feet apart from one another. Next is there is also increasing consensus that the virus can be spread through the air via tiny droplets called aerosols. So these aerosols remain in the air and can accumulate over time, increasing the risk of transmission in closed indoor spaces. For this reason, what should the school community can do, even if the school is located in an area with relatively low infection rates, district may wish to err the side of the caution and keep overly crowded schools or unsourced schools without outdated ventilation close to in-person learning until additional upgrades can be made. Third, the school district must ensure that there is adequate personal protective equipment for teachers and as well as other employees in the school. In addition to protective mask, schools should have the resources to place barriers in entranceways, ensure that there are adequate safeguards in areas where food is prepared, conduct ongoing deep cleaning. In districts serving high percentages of students from families with low incomes, schools will also need to ensure that all students have access to masks, as mask use must be mandatory in all schools to control the spread of the virus. Next is develop a comprehensive plan for remote learning that includes plans for full-time remote learning and as well as the hybrid approaches. Even with the goal of returning safely to in-person instruction and regardless of the current state of the virus in their community, every district should have a robust, comprehensive plan for remote learning for students. The students who want to as well as the hybrid approaches, the students who want to learn in person's instruction, like if they want to come to the school, they can do it in an offline mode, and the persons who want to do the remote learning, who want to do from their home, there should be also provision for them also. So thus we can conclude that adolescence is a time of big changes. Adolescents can be particularly overwhelmed when the stress is related to the traumatic event, expresses excessive worry or sadness, unhealthy eating or sleeping habits, and difficulty with attention and concentration. So adults can provide stability and support to help them cope up with the situation, and as well as facilitate access to professional help and distress. We should support them, or we should listen to their concerns, their issues. So thank you. And I just want to question. I have made some questions regarding the stress, and I have distributed among the students, like the exam, questions like, have you come in direct contact with the COVID-19 patients? Are you feeling worried more than the usual during pandemic? And most of the reported, they have, they are getting stressed, they are highly getting stressed during this pandemic. And again, I have raise a question, what is the reason for getting stressed during this pandemic? What is the main reason? So one of the students, she has mentioned that as we are the students, so we were tense about the examination that were to be conducted. And also some of the students, they have reported that due to the pandemic, the classes shifted to online mode, and we were facing difficulties to cope with the that change. We don't have the laptop, they don't have the phone, so it's difficult for them to attend the classes. So they are they lost there is a feeling of loss. So lastly, they also reported that the news and the report of death due to COVID-19 was one of the cause of stress. So social isolation and quarantine also increased their social anxiety as well. So thank you, and sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay, ma'am, it's not the problem. Thank you, ma'am, for a valuable idea was given by you.
Thank you.
Clouds. Thank you, ma'am. Clouds can never hide the sun forever. So don't complain about clouds, but never forget to welcome the sun. I like to introduce our last speaker as well as coordinator of this webinar, Mrs. Achara Batra Roy, honors in psychology from Bethune College, MA in clinical psychology from Neotia University, and currently pursuing school counseling course from Raja Bazar Science College. She also done internships from NRS, CANI, IOP, Apollo, and also done 1 month substance abuse course from NIMHANS Bangalore. Now it's turn, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Ma'am.
Am I visible?
Visible, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Khalid sir and Nandha College members for giving me this opportunity. Is it visible? The screen is visible?
Visible, ma'am. It's visible.
Okay. Now, advantages and disadvantages of reopening schools after COVID-19. Now, introduction. During the pandemic, schools and other educational facilities were closing for its students, teachers, and staff. As time goes, we as a country are deciding the impact of reopening schools and how things might be different because of the sake of the virus and its spread. There are many benefits of reopening schools during the COVID-19 pandemic, which may help alleviate the risks of exposure to students and staff. Some of the advantages are hybrid learning versus remote learning. Hybrid learning is the combination of both the experience of learning in class and receiving online instruction. Students can attend course for the given days available to them, and other days they are online. Remote learning is when the student and the teacher aren't physically together, but they engage through online platforms. Learning abilities. As schools are opening up, many school districts figure out a strategic plan to allow students to attend school and learn. This includes the options of remote learning and hybrid of person. Remote learning enables students to be at low to the exposure of the coronavirus. The option of remote learning allows parents to feel much safer than sending their child to school and potentially exposed to someone else who is carrying the virus unwillingly. Students need socialization. The lack of engagement between students can negatively impact the social growth of students. During the pandemic, students were mostly home with their families with no other interactions with other students, which affects how they learn to communicate with people outside of their family. The CDC includes in an in-person school environment, children more easily learn how to develop and maintain friendships, how to behave in groups, and how to interact and form relationships with people outside of their family. Nutrition. In low-income neighborhoods, many families can't provide sufficient meals needed to take care of the children. Some students depend on receiving their meals from the schools that offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some families can't provide the necessary meals for their children. The reasons might consist of low paying jobs, medical bills are high, and they might not have the time to prepare a meal because of the labor hours. When someone is making minimum wage or just a little over and they have a family to provide, it makes it much difficult for the parent to meet every need of the children. Sometimes they are only making enough to pay the bills to keep the lights on or some of the disadvantages. Students satisfy concerns. COVID-19 is a virus that is still being studied. While scientists understand much about the way the virus works and infects humans, they do not know everything. New information is being reported almost daily. It was originally believed that children could not catch COVID-19, one strain of the virus in the coronavirus family of viruses. Then it was discovered that some children do indeed catch the and have severe reactions to the virus. The idea of returning children to school without knowing exactly how at risk students are for catching the virus is certainly concerning. Concerns about the health and well-being of the teachers or administrators. Since the beginning of the outbreak, it has been known that COVID-19 impacts the older population much more severely than the young. Teachers can definitely be in an older group of the population and be at more risk from infection. The health of the staff, faculty, and administrators must be considered prior to a decision to reopen schools. Community spread. Sending children back to school does not just expose the children and employee to possible infection, it also exposes all those adults with whom the children interact. As children are known to be the carriers, even when asymptomatic reopening schools can re-expose elderly grandparents and caregivers to the virus through the children who attend school. This is a secondary transmission issue, but one that must be considered. Mental impact due to precautions. Children are resilient. They have the ability to adapt and thrive in many environments. However, is it really how children will react to a socially distant classroom in which students are no longer allowed to play together, eat at the same table, or even look at their teacher's face? Could there be a mental consequence to students returning to the classroom under such reengagement restrictions set in place to protect against unintended spread of contagion? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This platform was bloomed with valuable knowledge shared by you. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. Last but not least, I welcome Mrs. S. N. Sandalakshmi, Head, Department of Computer Applications, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all present here. I am S.N. Sandalakshmi, HOD, Computer Application Department. It gives me an immense pleasure to propose vote of occasion. I feel privileged and honored to thank our most respected chairman, Sri V. Sanmugam sir, Sri Nandha Educational Trust, Sri S. Nandamar Pradeep sir, Secretary, Sri Nandha Educational Trust, and S. Tirumurthy sir, Secretary, Nandha Educational Institution, Erode, for relieving the knowledge of our student and sincere attitude to proceed this function in a successful way. I hereby convey my thanks to our respected Principal in charge, ma'am, Dr. P. Ramya, ma'am, for accepting to deliver welcome address and for taking interest in this whole event and making this international effort in a grand success. I have great pleasure to submit my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. B.C. Srinivasan, Administrative Officer, Nandha Arts and Science College, Erode, for his guidance and moral support in each and every step of the success of this webinar. I would like to convey my thanks to members of Professional Institute of Business, Bangladesh, for kind of support and cooperation. Next, I give joy and happiness in entering my thanks to our resource person, Dr. Muhammad Kolik, and invited speaker, Dr. Anjana Batterjee, Dr. Susmita Roy, and Mrs. Ajira Batra Roy, ma'am, for creating today's international webinar on planning for educational institution recovery after COVID-19. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for your thought-provoking address. Our special thanks to our department faculty members for providing technical support. I extend my vote of thanks to S. Savita ma'am for introducing chief guest and to D. Kavita ma'am for nice comparing. I also thanks to principals of various colleges, all faculty members, HODs of various departments, participants for making this webinar in a successful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's time to depart. Have a good day, Sagret. Thank you.